Masa, Israel, is this week holding a leadership summit with a select group of 140 of the more than 8,000 program participants currently in Israel. During the seminar, the Masa Fellows explore what leadership is for them and for their fellow communities, whether they stay in Israel or return home to their countries. Reporter Nomi Segal heard more from Sarah Mali, Vice President at Masa, the head of the Leadership and Impact Centre.
We are at Neve in the hills of Jerusalem with 140 select Masa Fellows at the Masa Wealth Leadership Summit. And all of these fellows from 17 different countries have convened here to explore what leadership is for them and for their communities, if they stay in Israel or when they go back home.
So what are some of the skills and issues that are addressed?
So our approach to leadership, there are many approaches to leadership. Our approach assumes that leadership can be taught, that leadership is like a muscle, and that you can build your leadership muscle, and that anybody can exercise leadership in day-to-day activities, anytime, anywhere, to make progress on the tough challenges that themselves, their communities, their families, their organizations face. And this is a wonderful thing for early to mid-career fellows in Masa. So they don't have to wait for them to have big positions or big titles. They can have the agency and feel empowered to make a difference in their lives and in the lives of others, in their Jewish communities, in society at large, now and into the future.
Now, the participants in this program, they are currently participating in Masa programs here in Israel?
Yes, that's right.
What is the breadth of the programs that they are engaged in?
Some are volunteering, some are interning, some are learning Ulpan, and some are teachers teaching English on the social and geographical periphery of Israel and the MITF program.
And as you mentioned, you're speaking from Neve Ilan, so this is an in-person event, perhaps in contrast to previous years in recent history where things have had to go hybrid?
Yes, indeed. It's wonderful and exciting, of course, all in accordance with Corona regulations. We have, as you said, 140 fellows. We have 20 facilitators from across the country and from various backgrounds, ranging from Australia to North America, France. These are the facilitators as well. So we're all here to hold these fellows who have had a beautiful journey in Israel and have also had a complicated couple of years of their lives. And really, part of the work of leadership is to be able to hold steady during turbulence and also to know when to make a difference and when to look after yourself. And all these tools are part of what they're going to be learning here.
What kind of feedback have you received from previous participants who took part in this seminar in terms of the kinds of issues or that they've encountered or the applications that they've made of what they've learned through this seminar?
We feel that this summit is a different kind of summit than what fellows normally anticipate when they enter a conference. For the most part, and I'm generalizing, conferences are very frontal. They have big, important people talking to them on their behalf for them to absorb that information. Our work, for the most part, is in the here and now with the fellows, teaching them the framework that we've learned, which is adaptive leadership that was developed in the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And what it does is creates an experiential laboratory experience for fellows to explore their leadership edge with their fellows, dare more, risk doing different things, and discover their courage and their curiosity about who they are, who they can be, and also how they can engage with all the diverse voices of Masa fellows so that when they go back to wherever they're going back to, and they're in their communities that are really microcosms of what's happening here, they'll be able to engage with difference and see it as a value as an opportunity for greater inclusion, greater engagement, and ultimately greater strengthening of the Jewish communities wherever they are.
Have you received feedback from former participants about how this has helped them, or even in terms of the activities?
Yes, I got lots. So they find this idea of, we can exercise leadership, such an illuminating and a fresh way to think about leadership. And when they come back, we've had fellows say, wow, I feel now I can give voice to speaking up against anti-Semitism, to building bridges around the Israel-Jewish world conversation, being able to speak to more universal issues like issues around gender or the environment, where tensions are high, or there's there was nervousness before, and who am I, and how can I contribute? Fellows feel that they're much more able to step into the fray, to take an active role, and really take ownership of their part and their responsibility for shaping their communities.
And you mentioned that these skills are for fellows who, whether they stay in Israel or whether they go back to their communities.
Exactly. We don't talk about the word Masa, I think, enough as such a beautiful embodiment of the work that we do in our organization. Masa meaning journey. It doesn't end with Israel when they leave Israel. It is for their life, and we found that Masa fellows are in touch with us years later and say, this has been useful. I just went to an interview. I had this message the other week. From a fellow who was 2 years ago on a summit, and I was in an interview and somebody asked me a tough question, and I recalled something from what I'd learned at the summit, and I did great. Thanks very much.
Sarah Mali, Vice President at Masa and head of the Leadership and Impact Center.